Coding challenge, beginners, 7th of January of 2019. So, let's first have a look to a potential solution to each question, and then let's compare that against different patterns and strategies. So the first question, we want to find the positive numbers. Question for you guys, what type of data, how many arguments do we have?
Three.
Wrong. Why 3? 1. Why 1? Correct. We don't have 3 arguments. We have 1 single argument. Note the square brackets. Right? So the square brackets mean that the argument starts here and ends here. Right? So we have 1 argument. That's why our function has 1 argument. Before doing any coding, before programming like hell, please let's spend some time trying to understand the different aspects of the exercise. So we have 1 argument. What type of data the argument is? Sorry, excuse me. This 1 argument is an array, we know that. An array of what? Numbers, correct. So we have an array of numbers, and we want to keep the positive ones, right? No, we want to find the positive. Sorry, we want to find the positive one. It's important to know that we just want to keep the first positive number. On the first case, we have just 1 positive number, 4. Let's return it. On the second example, we have 2 positive numbers, but we just want to keep the first match, the first coincidence. So, how in JavaScript can we retrieve the first matching element of a list? Which method? Find, correct. With find, we can look for any specific element, and as soon as the first element matching the condition is found, find will stop. So, let's use, first of all, the long way, as Richard will say, the ES5 way. This is classic JavaScript. So with classic JavaScript, we can do return, remember to return something, numbers.find, and then, okay, we want to find a number, no problem at all. We need to specify what in JavaScript is called as the callback function. The callback function is a function that will run several times. It will run as many times as elements the array has. So, on each iteration, we'll receive a individual element on the array. So, on the first iteration, we'll receive -2. On the second iteration, we'll receive 4. On the third iteration, we'll receive -3. So, thinking about semantics, elegance, how would you name the argument name of the callback function? Number, correct. Can we put here Brexit? Yes. It will work, right? Technically speaking, it will be correct. But we should be meaningful with the naming conventions as a matter of respect to our team. Please remember that every software company has at least 2 developers, you and you after 6 months. So even if you are working alone, doesn't matter. If you call that variable Brexit in 6 months' time, you say, what? What's that? Right. Yeah. So let's call it number. And that's descriptive. This is very sexy, right? We have a list of numbers, and then we want to find a specific number in singular that matches the condition.
So just if you call it positive, is that
okay? That's a good question. Can we call it positive number? It will work, right? But is it a good idea or not?
No.
Why not,
Because
Rafa?
like the negative numbers also in the list.
Correct. Don't forget, Jonan, that we are going to loop on the array. We don't know if the number is positive or negative yet, right? So this is very confusing, because if I'm reading that, it's like, oh, wait a minute, positive number, but the numbers can be negative.
Yeah.
Correct? So let's simplify that a bit, and let's just call it number. Right, and then here, we have to return the expression that will decide whether we want to keep the number or not. So, what's the condition? when will we keep the number?
If it is positive.
If it's positive. How do we know if a number is positive?
If it is bigger or
Correct. Like that?
Yeah.
Will they work?
no, equals as well.
Equals as well. Will it make any difference?
No.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Yes, it will. No, it won't.
Well, it depends. If there is 0 there.
No, in that case,
Yeah,
Wo-
but there isn't 0.
there isn't 0. So in that particular case, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
But agree, in order to make our code, as much robust, solid, generic, scalable, blah, blah, all these words, right? We should consider 0. Yes, and 0 is a positive number. So, here we said, hey, please keep numbers greater or equal than 0. Will this work?
No.
No. Why?
You've got to return.
Correct. That callback function should always return something. If we don't return it, we won't keep any number. So remember to add a return statement. Will this work? Yes or no? Yes. Does anybody think this won't work?
I don't know when you need a semicolon and when you don't.
Right. Semicolons are always optional with modern JavaScript. In the past, they used to be mandatory, but not anymore. However, I personally believe that yes, it's just a matter of syntax sugar. It makes your code more readable because you are, for example, here you are explicitly telling your colleagues, "I'm done here," right? So every time you create an instruction, when you have a return statement, at the end of the return statement, add the semicolon. So talking about semicolons, do you think, looking at the Elegance console that some of you ignore a bit today, do you think now the console will complain about anything or not?
It will. Yes.
It will. About what?
You've got a semicolon at the end of the whole entire code. So not the code. I mean at the end. Of
Here?
No.
Here?
No. Number 4.
Here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's evaluate the test and let's see if Itamar and Daniel are right. Well, it should work. So again, we have two things. First of all, whether it's technically correct or not, and then whether it's elegant or not. It's two separate things, right? So I believe all these free exercises should be correct, but the Elegance console should complain a bit. Correct. So Itamar and Daniel were correct, right? Every time you have a return statement, we should add a semicolon at the end. Where do we finish the return statement? This is the content of the return statement. So just add the semicolon there. Again, if you find this a bit complicated, just don't put the semicolon for now because that's optional.
But it's for elegance and semicolon only after return.
Yeah. Well, no, not only after return, but
Okay,
definitely after. Yep.
So, sorry, semicolon?
Yep.
Another one?
Where?
No, sorry, I would have just done the one after the 0. You're saying,
Yep.
for elegance sake, you definitely need one after the...
Yep. You need a semicolon after each return statement. As we have a return statement on line number 3, we need to add a semicolon at the end of the line.
Yeah.
As we add another return statement on line number 2, at the end of line number 2, we need to add another semicolon. So you may think, okay, why don't we put a semicolon here, right? This is the end of line number 2. Because line number 2 doesn't finish here, technically speaking. We have a function, we open the curly brackets, you see the curly bracket?
Yeah.
So then after the curly brackets, after all these things is where we add the semicolons. Right? So it's very useful. Look, if you don't know where the function finishes, hover or just put the cursor, you see the rectangle, right? So that helps to identify where are the boundaries of that function, right?
Can I ask that basic one on the convention? So
Yep.
why wouldn't you put the curly brackets
Yep.
all in line 3 to sort of say this starts
So you want to put the curly brackets here,
and I want return?
yeah, like that.
Well, kind of, yeah, or even exactly, and then put the end curly bracket
Yeah.
in line 3.
I mean, even though that may be correct, that's really weird. It's correct.
But
That's,
it's
it's
okay.
correct, but I never seen that. right? So, I mean, don't get me wrong, on top of the standards and the pattern, there are some guidelines. And who has created these guidelines? Some guys. Douglas Crackhor, John Papa, all these guys, right?
Because that's, to me, says like, right, this is what's relevant to the curly bracket.
Yeah, but in reality, that curly bracket exists because you have a function.
Right.
So the curly bracket is a bit disconnected from the function. Right? That's why you put it on the right.
Actually got tab as well, isn't it, to indicate?
A tab, yes, correct. That's a good point. Also, tabbing is very important because that explains the hierarchy of your function, right? So, and if you put one of the good things about the platform is if you fail with the indentation, the console will complain. Expecting this on 2 tabs, but font 1 on line number 3. Right? Any question about this?
Ricardo, are you
Yep.
telling me that that's
Well, not me. The ESLint standard tells us that this is elegant. Yeah. Because that's. But even though that's perfectly valid, this is classic somehow JavaScript with modern.
doing that inline.
Correct. Let's refactor that. So, one of the good things about any new standard, this is not just about JavaScript. This is not just about coding. It's about anything in life, right? Is that it becomes hopefully easier to use, right? So with modern JavaScript, we can do the same thing, typing a bit less. Why is it important to type less? Because the chances to fail decrease, right? The more we type, more likely to do a mistake, right? So with modern JavaScript, and this is very important, we'll be training that a lot, we can replace classic functions with arrow functions, correct. So what's an arrow function? An arrow function, look, I'm going to remove the function expression, and then I'm going after the argument, something like that, equal, greater than. So this is a function in modern JavaScript. And that's the same. If we test this exercise, that's the same, right? Is there any way to simplify this example even more than that?
Wait, does it look like that? Just delete the
And make it one line.
Correct. Someone said remove the second return. Like that.
And again, take the
Correct. There is something very important here. If you have an arrow function and you remove the return statement, which is valid using arrow functions, please remember to remove the brackets. Because if you leave the brackets, JavaScript expects a explicit return statement. That's correct. Why that's correct? Because we have the brackets, but then JavaScript will say, okay, what is the return statement? It's here. Okay, that's correct. That works. But if we remove the return statement, that's not correct. That's not correct because we have the brackets, but nothing is returned. So will this work, yes or no? What's the color scheme on the left? Is red, green, red? What's the colors?
All red.
All red.
Syntax error.
red, no, and green.
Red, green.
Red, green.
It's undefined.
Already.
That's very interesting, Itamar. Technically speaking, this shouldn't be a syntax error. That's correct. You have a function, but the function doesn't return anything.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that thing. Yeah. So what happened with find if it doesn't return anything? What does it return?
Undefined.
Correct. It returns undefined. By coincidence, the last example expects to return undefined. So if we test that, so that's correct. The last one works, right? So what do we need to do in order to get 3 greens on the left-hand side? Remove the curly braces. Like that. Will this work?
Yeah.
No?
You have to make it one line?
Yeah.
Yes. That should work.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work?
Because of the zero of the symbol.
Exactly. I don't know who, someone showed me this problem this morning, right? So if this is called an inline return. An inline return means if you don't put the curly brackets, whatever you put is immediately returned. In that case, you cannot put the semicolon. And that's probably the most confusing one. Because of that, my suggestion is, if you now are thinking, what is this guy talking about? my suggestion is do that. Keep it simple. Use classic JavaScript. This is more explicit, but it's easier to read, to understand a function that returns something and a semicolon. Start taking this snippet as a reference.
Could you just here? So can you go back to like undos? Go to
Yep.
where you have the classic function.
Oh,
Sorry.
yep.
Could you, with this classic function,
Yep.
get rid of the return?
No, you can't.
Brackets?
No, you can't. With a classic function, you'll always have the curly brackets and you'll always have the return statement. It's more verbose, it's more, right? But with an arrow function, we can simplify things a bit. So, will this work, yes or no? Should work. Any elegance issue?
No.
Yes. Yes, no, yes, no?
Yes.
Which one?
Put one in one line.
There should have been like, yeah, one line.
Is that an elegance issue? We'll see. It's not. So that's valid, but I honestly agree with you. Even though this is valid, if you want to remove the return statement, why don't you simplify that even more? Look at how sexy this is. That's it, right? And that works. Correct, that works. Find out of the list of numbers a number that is greater or equal than 0. That's it, one line. Do we need the parentheses surrounding the argument?
No.
Yes, no?
No.
Yes, no? Wrong one, fight.
I do that, it works.
What the purpose is?
Yeah, the number.
Number. So these,
No, you don't have
We
to.
don't need it, no.
you don't need them.
No.
They are optional.
Is it?
Yes. With arrow functions, if you have a single argument, just if you have a single argument, you can remove them.
Oh.
And this is super sexy. Right? This is the shortest solution possible. Right? Any question?
Where, can you say, what have you defined? Where have you defined things here? Because I remember getting an error that I got the right answer in one question that I answered, but it said, hasn't defined find a positive number.
How? Well, here, this is the condition, right? So,
In the console that.
In the console, yeah.
Yeah, so in the console, sometimes it says.
in the console.
Like this is not a function, like errors like that.
Well, I mean, you do something wrong, it will throw an error. If I type something weird, you see?
Then it'll say, but you see this bit, find positive number is defined but never used.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you have an error, focus on the error. Ignore everything else. That's the important thing. Because some of the warnings are side effects of the error.
Fine.
So focus on the error, and once you fix the error, maybe the warnings will automatically, yeah.
But that was like a red herring error.
Yeah, it was a red herring, agree, yeah. Any other question? Question number 2? Okay, let's go for it. Cool. That's interesting. That's a bit complicated, to be honest. That's one of the most complicated ones in the beginner. Why? How many arguments? I'll be asking the same question again. How many arguments our find expensive fruit function has? 2.
No?
Because it's object.
No, it has one argument.
1.
1, 2.
1, 2, 3, 4.
One is an array and one's a price.
Yeah.
Correct. The first argument is the array of fruits. Correct? You see the square bracket? You see? That's one argument. Square bracket, whatever goes inside is one argument. And the second argument, 1.5, which is the threshold. That's the price that will tell us if the fruit is expensive or not. So in this particular case, we want to find the banana because the banana is above 1.5, right? Whatever that means. So again, by coincidence, it looks like we can again use the find function, right? Because we want to identify the first one matching the condition. So how do we do that? You'll tell me. Return fruits dot find
ES6 or ES5?
ES5, please.
Okay. So
Function.
then parentheses and the next element,
Yeah.
fruit,
Fruit.
close parentheses, space, curly bracket,
Yep.
then press the return button to the next line.
Yep.
Return,
Yeah.
and the condition should be
Fruit is
fruit dot price
price.
equal greater than price.
Equal, greater than price. Is that correct?
No.
No.
Equal.
It's not.
No.
Double equal.
Price.
Double equal.
No.
3 equals. Okay, wait. 4 equals. Anyone else?
Or probably work. No, it has to be greater than.
Greater than, correct.
Equal greater than.
Okay, wait a minute. What will this return now?
Huh?
What will the function return now? Undefined. Why undefined?
Because price is not defined.
Price is not defined. No, that's not correct, Daniel. Price is defined. Price is the argument.
Yeah, it's defined, but you have to put the
Cost
1.5.
1.5. Nothing inside the object cost.
Itamar is right. We don't have any fruit with 1.5 price. Because of that, fine will return nothing. I don't know, undefined, right? So we don't want to put triple equal. We want to put greater or equal than. How would you put greater or equal?
Greater than.
Yep, greater than,
And then equals.
like that.
Yeah.
Correct. Will this work? Yes or no?
Yes.
Elegance issues?
No.
Yes, no. Where, Rafa? Who said yes? Was Dave? Someone said yes. Come on. I'm not that tall to hear children in my head. Right. Well, what is the elegant issue, if any? If any.
In fact, there's ES5.
It's ES5, but hey, ES5 is valid, right?
What is this one? You're talking classic.
Classic, yeah. You can be old but elegant, right? As a human, even. So that should work, right? That should work, and that should be perfect. That's correct. That works, and that's.
Question then, it's half the elegance thing, but I was getting confused with this one.
Hmm.
If you are trying to find the most expensive fruit,
Yeah.
could you use like the max function?
Not really. No.
Not really.
That's a good question for intermediate.
Okay.
Yeah. An intermediate, you'll have questions like, give me the max top score, for example.
But
things like
could you do it on this? Or you
No. You need a different mechanism. You need. I'm not going to explain that, but yes. Cool. So now, last question: how do we transform that into a modern ES6 function?
Remove function
Yeah.
and brackets next to the fruit.
Right. What?
Then
Arrow function.
Arrow function.
Like that?
Curly things.
I don't want the curly. So then what?
Return the
Return.
Return like that?
No.
No. Remove the return. Yeah. And then what? Inline. Right. And then that's it. Anything else?
Parentheses in the fruit as well.
Parentheses in the fruit.
After price.
Yeah. Will this work? Yes or no?
No, because it's
Correct. That's the same problem we had before, right?
Yeah.
This is evil. So if you do an inline return, that's the inline return. You cannot have a semicolon. If we try that, it will fail. Boom. Right? And that this is complicated to solve because the error is not please remove the semicolon I told you 5 minutes ago. The error is missing parentheses after argument list. It's a bit hard to debug, right? That's why please remember to remove it, and now it should just work with no elegant related issues. Any question? That was pretty much the same thing, right? Cool. Let's do the next one. What are all the questions about using find? That's a bit weird, right? They're supposed to be random. 3 questions from the same topic. Interesting. Well, anyway, let's do it. So find sexy artist. This is slightly different, right? It's the same principle, the same idea. So we have, how many arguments do we have? One argument. How many elements the first argument of the first exercise has? 2. How many elements the array has? 3. What type of its element is? Object. Correct. So we have an array of objects, and we want to find the first sexy artist. It's pretty much the same thing, which is good because then that proves that we understood how this works. So you tell me again how we do it. Let's do it with modern JavaScript directly. Return what?
Artist.
dot find what? Artist,
Yes.
and then what?
Yeah. Then artist dot is sexy.
No.
It's wrong.
Right. So the guys want to do it inline. Artist dot
Is sexy equal to true.
like that.
No,
You
it's
don't need
not
to do it's implied
after
anyway.
same after
True is implied, so you can
dot
copy
name dot name.
the name and
Dot name at the end like that.
Don't
Yes.
name.
No.
No.
Outside.
Outside.
No,
This is
no.
outside already.
No, parentheses, you got put dot name.
Wait, what?
I'm not following you guys. The
No.
dot name is outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move it to a few lines. Right. Let's like that. It will be probably easier to read. Right. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah, but you don't need the true. It's unnecessary.
Okay, we'll check that in a minute, how, if we can improve it. But just looking at this snippet, any elegance issue, any problem?
No.
No? All good?
I see.
Yeah?
Wait.
No.
The dot name should be at the end of the bracket. No, I think.
Every time you have a dot, you can, and you should, generally speaking, break it into a new line. That helps to read your code. Right? So what's going on here? First of all, we are trying to find the sexy artist. And once we have the sexy artist, we want to return his or her name, right? Because we don't want, without the dot name, it will keep the entire object, but we don't care about the entire object, we just care about the name, right? So, will this work?
Yes.
Right, so is there any way, and now I'm asking, for example, Megan, is there any way to improve that? Can we remove anything?
Get rid of the true and the equals.
Correct,
Oh.
correct. We can get rid of that. Because in JavaScript, conditions are evaluated as truthy or falsy. If we do that, that's correct. That's correct. So if you're not following me again, just do that, because that's absolutely fine. It's very explicit, right? I want an artist which is sexy property equals to true. But in reality, if we remove equal to true, because is sexy will return true, in that case, true is obviously truthy. So that will work.
Already true, yeah?
Sorry?
So this one is already true.
It's already true. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Question. I'm going to change the example. Can you tell me, look, what the first example will return?
The false one, person. No, the
The first one return the true one.
So, yeah. So,
Well, we'll return Danny.
Danny. Why Danny?
Because it just loops, it hits the first one by name.
Correct. Remember, the conditions are truthy or falsy. So what will be the first artist? Could be an object. Could be this object, right?
Yeah.
And then it will return it if the condition is truthy. What's the value of artist.name? On the first iteration. Danny. Is Danny truthy or falsy? It's truthy.
Right.
It's truthy.
Why is Danny truthful?
Because JavaScript works in that way, right? If you have a string with some content, truthy. If you have an empty string, falsy, right? So that the first artist will be returned, so then .name will return Danny. Let's have a look. Correct, you see? And because of the same reason, on the second example, it returns Kristen because it's the first element, right? So that's the way to prove that conditions are evaluated as either truthy or falsy. So then let's go back to the original example. Is sexy. So will this work? That should work, right? Cool. I know some people, and I'm not against that. Actually, 50-50, I'm not sure which one is better. Some people create a variable. Let's refactor the exercise. Let's do it in a different way. Because some people struggle to understand that syntax of .find and then .name, what's that? Where is that coming from? So what some people does is creates a variable. Let's sexy artist equals that. And then return what?
Sexy artist.
It says it has your name.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sexy artist is an object. Sexyartist.name. That's correct. That's correct. That's, yep.
Oh, so, yeah, you know the let, that now, that I get, you define something.
Mhm.
Sexy artist.
Yep. So let is useful to create variables.
Why, you know, are the variables already created? Like, the arrays are already...
So the array is already created because it's provided to the function. So you already have the array of artists. You can use it, right? And similarly, you can create new variables like this one, sexy artist, right? So this approach has two advantages. The variable approach has two advantages with the inline approach. The first advantage, I think, is readability. I find this a bit more readable, right? Because you create a variable and then you return object.name. It's a bit more readable. The second argument, can anyone think about another advantage of this approach?
If you wanted to change the condition.
Not really.
You could use sexy artist.
You can, yeah, that's a good thing. I didn't think about that, but you can reuse sexy artist for something else, right? But even if we don't want to reuse sexy artist anymore, using that approach is valuable, and we'll learn that tomorrow in the very first workshop, in the very first official workshop of the bootcamp, when talking about dev tools. If we have that in a real working environment, I can add a breakpoint on line number 4, and I can evaluate the value of sexy artist before returning it, because I have a variable, right? So if something goes wrong, I can do divide and conquer. Imagine that this doesn't work fine, right? I can add a breakpoint here in between, so I can do divide and conquer. I can say, okay, is sexy artist correct? If it's correct, I know the problem is here. If sexy artist is wrong, then you know I'm narrowing the problem, right? That's why creating variables is an interesting pattern.
What, so that would go through the first one that says Danny
Yep.
is not sexy.
Yeah. If I put name here, imagine that this is the code, right? And we think this is correct, but hey, it doesn't work. Hey, what Danny? Danny is not sexy at all, right? So then we can add a breakpoint here. We'll learn that tomorrow, right? And then we can inspect the value of sexy artist. Yeah. Is sexy artist correct? What do you think? This doesn't work, so we have a problem somewhere. But we don't know if the problem is on line number 2.
Wait, it's on line 3.
Artist name.
Well, yeah, it's on line number 3. Yeah, correct. So we don't know if the problem is here or there. Right? So if we have a breakpoint, we can investigate. If we inspect, is sexy artist correct? Do you think sexy artist is correct?
You just made it incorrect.
No, it's not correct. Because it's not correct, then we are narrowing the problem. We don't care about that line. We can focus on that line. These 2 lines, right?
So, Ricardo, are you saying that this is better for debugging, so like for a team, not individually?
No, even individually. Yeah. We'll learn that tomorrow. With conflicts, you must debug all the time. As soon as something doesn't work, you must open the tools, you must add breakpoints. We'll learn that starting from tomorrow, right? Cool, so let's just complete that. It's sexy, and then it works like a charm, except in the missing semicolon, because we don't want to get a penalty, we'll add it, right? Any question?
It's just the same one as just, you know, you're saying we've been given artists already.
Yep.
Where have we been given artists?
Artists, that's the argument of the function. So when we invoke the function, we are providing that variable. You see the array? So this is offered to the function. So this highlighted text is
It's offered in there.
yeah.
And it doesn't, and we could have called it anything.
We can.
You didn't have to call it artists.
No, you didn't have to call artist. No. This is just a variable. What type of data the variable is? It's an array. Because it's an array, we can find, we can filter, we can do whatever we want with it, right?
Okay.
Any question? Michael? No? Anyone else? No?
Yeah.
Yes?
When do you know when to have a small amount of code versus when you should make a variable like that? So how do you know whether you should have just write a small amount of code?
There is no perfect answer, right? That's up to you. This is something that you in the long term, you'll have a coding style, right? And we'll learn different coding styles, and we'll see when is better one than the other. This one is a bit longer, but it's easier to debug. What do you prefer, to write shorter code or to write debuggable code? generally speaking, yes. I guess my point is, if what you're typing is very simple, is trivial, then do it in line. If it has some complexity in it, maybe split it. Right. Cool. Question number 4. We got 16 minutes left.
This one.
Oh, this one. Oh, yeah. I'm a bit worried because is it real that all the questions were about find? The last one as well?
One of them was on from maths.
Say again?
The last one's from maths.
Maths.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's possible, right? It's just coincidence. We got 60 questions in the training. Not 60, well, lots of questions. And 4 out of them come from the same topic. Well, anyway. Get first available day for booking. Oh, this is the most complicated question on the entire beginner's program. So here, how many arguments do we have? One. You're not convinced. One. It's one. It's clearly one, right? It's an array of how many elements on the first exercise? 3. What type of data the elements of the array? Strings. You see? So this is a way to get confident with the exercise, to understand the type of data that we have to deal with, right? So we have one array of strings. In the first example, 3 strings. Fair enough. So we want to find the first available day. So this is a booking system that we are creating, and we know that because of whatever reason, Tuesdays and Thursdays are not available for booking, right? Because of whatever reason. But we can book on Monday, Wednesdays, or Fridays. So we need to see if there is any Monday, Wednesday, or Friday in our list of available days. We'll see what happens in the unhappy path. We'll see what happens if we don't have any Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. But for now, let's focus on the happy path. Let's focus on the scenario where we can definitely book one day. So you tell me, return what? Let's create a variable, actually. Do you want to create a variable or not? Yes. That's a good thing. If you don't know what to do exactly, just create a variable for now, and then we'll see what to do with the variable. What's the name of the variable? Free day. We can call it free day. Look at the method name. Get first available day. Correct. That gives us some confidence, right? If you have a function called get first available day, if I create a variable called available day, I can assume that eventually I'm going to return it, right? We can do that. And then what happened with that variable? So we have a list of days, my days, why not? So how do we find the first available day? My.find.
My days.
My days, correct.
S at the end.
Yeah, correct. Find. Day. And then what's the condition? How do we know if a day, how do we check if a day is A or B or C?
The way I did it is by negating days instead.
Say it again?
Negating days. So I would negate the day.
Negate. Okay, you will negate. We'll do that later on. We'll talk about, let's avoid negating anything. Let's be positive, assert positively. So how do we do that?
So there's 3 days it has to be.
Yeah.
So you can add those 3 days in.
Yeah.
On Monday, so it would be day is equal
To what?
that takes Monday,
Monday.
then
And,
wait, you might have to do it higher.
well, I don't know. Let's do that.
It has to be Monday.
Let's do that. Let's see what happens if we do that. Sometimes a good way to learn coding is to see code that doesn't work, right? Because that will help us to understand why it doesn't work.
So what Wednesday should it be Tuesday?
Should it be Tuesday? Well, we want to find the first available day. We know that the available days are Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Tuesday and Thursday are not available. Right? So, here we have 2 problems in this line. So here we say, give me the first day, which is Monday and Wednesday, and Friday. That doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. A day is either Monday or Tuesday. So how do we transform the ampersand, which is the AND operator, into an OR operator?
2 pipes.
Con 2 pipes, that's correct. So that means Monday and Wednesday. But if we do that, now it means Monday or Wednesday, which looks better, right? Because that's what we want. Monday or Wednesday or Friday. So, will this work, at least on the first couple of scenarios? Yes or no, and why?
Yes.
Yes, of course. Wrong. That won't work. Let's try that. I mean, the thing is, if we try, probably we'll notice why. But that shouldn't work. Correct. That shouldn't work. That's not correct. What's the problem?
Return scope, no?
That's, so first of all, Michael, was it you?
Also, you return scope.
Yeah, so
You return. Yeah.
no, yeah, so Michael is right. That's the first problem. Hey, we're not returning anything. That's good, Michael. Will it work now, yes or no? Oh, that thing, right? Look, still, so Michael was right. We missed that, but that's not enough. Still some problems.
Should be equal, right? Not just
Correct.
3.
Correct. When we compare things, is A equal to B? We cannot do that. That's illegal. Because if we do that, we are changing the value of day. Here we say now day equals to Monday. We don't want to change the value of the day. The day could be Monday, Sunday, Saturday, could be whatever. We don't want to change. We just want to compare. How do we compare in JavaScript? Double equals.
3.
Free. True or free? Why?
3.
We'll learn what's the difference between 2 and 3. Not now. For now, the rule is never use 2. Never use 2. Always use 3.
Unlike C.
It can convert 3 to 3.
So we'll learn why. Have you ever heard about Douglas Crackford?
No.
It's one of the fathers of JavaScript. JavaScript, the good parts. There is a book called JavaScript. It's a book like that. And there's a book called JavaScript, the good parts, which is like that, right? So the good parts is just a small subset. Anyway, he's one of the fathers of JavaScript. I had the chance to meet him. He's a really good, big, old, but good guy. So he said in JavaScript, the good parts, that double equals is evil. Never use it. It doesn't matter if you don't understand why. Simply don't use it. One day you'll learn why. For now, triple equals.
Double
Equals is evil. He said that several times. Double equals is evil. Eval is evil. So everything, well, not everything is evil, but I mean, he said it for a good reason, right? So then, what do we do on the right-hand side? Is that correct? No. 2 or 3?
3.
Correct. 2 or 3?
3.
Correct. Right. Will this work? Yes or no? No. Why not?
It's gonna be work just first one with Monday.
Say it again.
We're gonna be returned just Monday. It's not gonna be work.
It will return just Monday.
Yes.
You sure?
It will give an error at the bottom.
It will give an error. Yeah, so I think Jonan is correct. The last one will fail, for sure. We are not even considering that scenario. But these two should work, because on the first case, what was on the first iteration of the first example, what's the day? What's the first day? Is Monday equal to Monday, or Wednesday or Friday?
Yes.
Yes, return it. On the second scenario, what's the first day? Tuesday. Is Tuesday equals to Monday, Wednesday, or Friday? No, no problem at all. Keep investigating, keep checking. Next element, Friday. Is Friday equal to Monday, Wednesday, or Friday?
Yes.
No, why not? So is Friday equals to Monday or Wednesday or Friday?
Yeah.
Yes. Right? So that should work on the first two scenarios. Here you go. It works. It works. Right? Before going any further, we got a warning. Some of you got this warning, right? This is one, I know people hate that, but that's important. So one of the main readability issues is having very long lines, because these are hard to debug. You need to go to the right, But that's important. It's important to create short lines. So how can we shorten line number 3, which is obviously the longest line here? There are several strategies. I show you 2.
Just is that missing semicolon?
Yeah, there is a missing semicolon, yes.
Is that true? That's not a red herring thing.
No, that's an actual one, look. Yeah. So there are 2 ways to, well, there are multiple ways, but I can think about 2 ways to easily get rid of the elegancies, or 2 or 3 or 4, lots of different ways. So option 1, split the return statement into several lines. So look, if you add a parenthesis, you can do that. And that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now it's very easy to read. Day equals Monday, or day equals Wednesday, or day equals Friday. It works, right? Option number 2, and that may ruin everything because it may be a bit complicated, is, do you remember that we can get rid of the return, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So that now may work or maybe not. Yeah, still too long, right? So that's not, in this case, that's not valid. So let's just abort that strategy and let's keep it with the 3 lines. So remember, return, important, add a parenthesis. If you don't add a parenthesis, it will fail. That's a very tricky thing in JavaScript. When you have a return statement, you cannot have an empty, you should have something on the right hand side. Either some condition, some variable, or some parenthesis, right? So just do that. Just simply surround everything with a parenthesis. Like that. And now that should work. So then we still have a problem, right? What happened with the last one? How do we control? How do we return that? Sorry, no days available.
It's 2 what? If or else.
If or else. Right, if or else what? If what? What? Else? What else?
If available day.
Yeah?
Return available day.
Yeah. Can we do that? Equals Monday? Or, no, don't do that, right? No. Why? Because available day is a string, hopefully. If it's a string, is it truthy or falsy? Truthy, correct. We don't care about the content of available day. If the find method returns something, then it will be something here.
Return
Available day. Correct. Else?
The string, yeah.
Return, sorry, no days available. Will it work?
Yeah.
Yes? That's correct. If else. If I have any available day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just return it, right? Return it. If not, then display a friendly message. So that's convenient instead of returning undefined, right? I want to book a flight and it returns undefined. What is that, right? Yeah, so now this returns a friendly message. Can we simplify, this is a bit off topic, can we simplify the if else?
Simply what?
Yes.
Simplify. Yes, we got 5 lines here.
Yeah.
One line. Okay, one line may be too much now. Can we, you know a ternary operator? So with JavaScript, this is on the training. So if you never heard about that, go to training, and the training number 4, I think, the one on the right, yes, the last training on the first row on beginner is the ternary operator. So with JavaScript, I'm going to transform that into a simple structure. So we can do return available day. This is the condition. Then look at the question mark. We have the if. So if I have an available day, return it. Else, return that message. Right? So these 3 lines are equivalent to these 5 lines. Return, condition, if the condition is met, then this will be automatically returned. If the condition is not met, that will be automatically returned. Shorthand. Again, if you struggle to understand the ternary operator, don't worry. Use the longer version. It's not a problem at all. Will this work?
Yeah.
Correct. Because we have just 1 minute. Is there any shorter way to do that?
Yes, make only one line.
Correct. How do we do it in one line? I don't want, I mean, yes, we can move everything to one line, but I don't want to do that because we'll get a penalty on the elegance. You've never seen that, but that's very powerful. When you do if something, return the same as the condition, you can do that in JavaScript. Return available day, or we'll do a workshop about that. This is very sexy. Wow, that's the thing, right? So look, that still works.
That's the turn available day if it's true.
Exactly. If it's truthy, it's like, hey, available day. It's truthy, yes, return it. Or if it's falsy, then it will check on the right hand side. Sorry, no, this available.
Do we ever need to remember the question mark?
No, there is no question mark here.
No, but I'm just saying, is this always better than the question mark?
No. So this only works fine, and we got a timeout here. It only works fine when you have the syntax like if something, return something.
Yeah, okay.
When you have if something, return that same thing, you can do that.
What's that method called? I mean, it's not. Is it my name?
This is, I don't know. I don't think there is a technical name to describe that. I mean, this is an expression. It's an OR expression. We'll learn the differences between OR expressions and expressions. If you are curious about that, we have a very good workshop we recorded some time ago about that. We'll do that again here. But if you're curious now, I'll send you the link and then you can play around with it. Cool. Questions? Is this too much? Is it too intense?
And in the meantime, it would have been fine to ES6 that
Yeah.
code, right?
Yeah, definitely. Michael, feelings?
A few times you mentioned objects and stuff. We are going to go into them. aren't
Objects?
we? Objects.
Yeah, of course.
A few times you mentioned.
Yeah, of course. So tomorrow we'll go deeper on that because tomorrow we're going to create to play with app tools, blah, blah, blah. But just quickly, let's have a look to how objects work. So this is JavaScript, right? So with JavaScript, you can create an object called player, whatever. And an object is essentially a collection of key value properties. Look at the curly brackets. Remember, arrays are determined by, surrounded by square, and objects are surrounded by curly. So because objects essentially are just a collection of key value pairs, we can then just create a collection of properties. This is like a database. So first name, Donald. Last name, Trump. Right? We can do whatever we want. Email. Whatever, right? Right. So then,
So that's an object, yeah?
this is an object, correct. That's an object. Curly brackets, key value.
And how do you define things like first name, last name?
Yeah, everything. Yeah. If you're building a car, you can have a property which is the chairs, the wheels, the whatever, right? Just a collection of data. So then, how do we access the first name? Yeah, correct. So if we run that, look at the bottom, it displays Donald, right? How do you display the email? Email, correct. So that should display the email. Oh, I click somewhere. Okay, give me a second. Yes, that will display the email, right? So that's the way you access objects with dot notation. What happens if we have that?
Oh yeah, I know.
You see the difference, right? Now we have an object inside of another object. So how do we display the first name of the player? Player name, dot name, dot first. Correct. So you see, you can navigate, you can drill down through the properties of the object, right?
Would that be nested? No.
Yes, that's a nested object because you have an object inside of another object.
Yeah.
Can we have another nested object here? Can we do that? Whatever, right? Yes, of course. How do we access the first family name, if that makes any sense? Player.name dot family name dot first. Correct. 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 You see? That's an object. Can we have that scores? Can we have an array inside of an object?
Yes.
Yes. How do we display this third score of the player?
The name.
Player scores.
Square brackets 2.
Why 2 and not 3?
Because it starts at 0.
Correct. Correct. Arrays start at 0 index. So if we want to get the third one, so that will be index 2 because this is index 0, this is index 1, and this is index 2. So that should display 3, right? If let's. Oh, I'm typing in the wrong place. So here, yes. Correct. Correct. And can we have that? Can we have a function inside of an object?
Yes.
And how do we display the name? Imagine that we don't have that name, right? So we have that. How do we display Donald Trump now? Player.get name. Like that?
Yeah.
Correct. And what happens if we want to have a welcome message? For some users, hello, happy new year, whatever.
So you put the element inside the braces, inside the parentheses of the function.
Right, so here we have an argument. So Mo says to put here what? Message, name. It's not name. Name is the wrong name because it's not the name, it's a message, right? Or a welcome message, whatever.
And then you put in the, what's it called?
Yes, we'll do that, you are thinking about in a minute. But before going that far, so how do we combine in JavaScript variables with strings?
Concatenate.
Concatenate. How do we concatenate? Yes.
Plus.
Plus. Like that.
And then, yeah, string or variable, whatever.
Correct. That's correct. So pop is right. So if we try that, that should display Happy New Year, Donald Trump. Right?
Yeah.
Is there any? Can we use double quotes instead of single quotes?
Yes.
Should be
Providing there aren't quotes
Is that going to be?
outside.
Yep.
Might be a clash, so I don't know.
I don't know. Will this work? Yes or no? Yes. Yes, of course. In JavaScript, you can either use single or double quotes. Which one do you prefer, single or double? I prefer single as well, right? I think double is okay for the whiskey, but not for JavaScript, right? So why? Because to me, I mean, even though you can use either, right? It's not a big deal, but the problem is double quotes are a bit more complex. How do you know if it's a double quote or a double single quote? Right? I don't know. It's just maybe it's something very, very personal. But I prefer single quotes. Can we combine single and double quotes in the same expression? No. Oh, wrong, right? Look, Chrome is complaining massively, right? Correct. So then we need to either take one or the other. So then there is a third way. With modern JavaScript, we can also use. How's that? This is a backtick. This that key that you. Correct. So the backticks, probably you've never used a backtick in your keyboard. If you're a Windows user, backticks are on top left. If you're a Mac user, they're at the bottom left. So this is a backtick. And this is modern JavaScript. Technically speaking, the pattern is called template literal. So this is a template literal. Why? Because we can easily combine string literals and variables using $curly brackets. Right? So we don't need to use any plus. We don't need to mess around with quotes all the time. Just backtick at the very beginning, backtick at the very end, and then in between simply combine string literals with variables surrounded by $symbol and curly brackets. So if we try that, that should still work. Does it make sense?
Yeah, although why is that better than the plus?
Well, that's better because, I'll tell you,
Easier.
it's easier. If we have a variable called age equals 43, and then let first name equals Kim, and then let last name with equals over that. We have all these things, right? And then not let last name, let email Kim at bomb.co.uk. I shouldn't record that, right? Well, it's too late. Anyway, so if we have these kind of things, if we want to send a message, and the message is welcome to Codiri. Your name is, and then first name plus, and your last name is, and you are, the thing, right? We're going to build a message. That should be okay. Eventually. I forgot. You see, I forgot to add a plus. I'm messing around now with the quotes. I'm getting nervous a bit. Right? So, still wrong. You see, it's even hard to derive. This is real. I didn't prepare that. So, why is this complaining? First name, last name. So divide and conquer. That's correct. Is that correct? Yes. So, no, that's correct. Sometimes Chrome struggles to pick the changes. So I mean, that's fine. That's how it is. Welcome to Codiri, your name is blah 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 blah. That's fine. But look how complex this is. Plus 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 plus. So with the backticks, we can do the same thing. Welcome to Codiri. Your name is first name, and your last name is last name, and you are. It's a bit shorter, but the main reason is not because it's shorter, it's because I think it's easier to write, it's less error prone, right? Right? Oh. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's the same thing, yeah. Cool. So that's why in the long term, I think...
Less of the quotation.
Yeah, correct. More natural. Cool. Anything else, guys? No? Cool. Right, so we're recording this session, so we'll be in YouTube within a few minutes. I'll send you the link. Feel free to review it. If you have any question, any problem, let me know. Apart from that, remember two things. First of all, code flicks. That's number one. And then please, when you have some time, have a look to the whiteboard, analyze the function, and once you have the answer, call me, and then we'll review it together. Okay? Cheers, guys.